All right, so you're ready to get into mobile development, but you're trying to decide between Flutter and React Native.
Big decision.
Huge. And we are here to help you unpack this decision.
Yeah.
We've got a ton of developer opinions and online discussions.
A mountain of opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see if we can kind of like crack the code and figure out which path actually aligns with your goals.
Yeah. What's so interesting about this debate is that it's not just about, the technical specs of each framework. It gets into like what developers value more,
Yeah.
Are you the type of person who wants to like ride the wave of what's hot in the job market right now?
All right.
Or are you more passionate about like diving into a technology that you believe in, even if it means that you're going to have to kind of carve your own path a little bit?
It's like choosing between the safe route,
Mm-hmm.
the well-paved road,
Right.
or going off kind of on the unbeaten path a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't believe that there's this interesting paradox going on.
Okay.
One developer online who goes by the name Hammered.
Of course they do.
Gotta love those developer aliases, right?
Yeah.
He points out that Flutter consistently tops developer satisfaction surveys.
Okay.
However, when you look at job boards, React Native listings are way ahead.
Interesting.
So how do we explain that?
Well, it's funny because there's kind of this age-old tension between what developers enjoy using and what the market realities are.
Right.
And so developers, especially those who are drawn to Flutter, might really love the ease of use, like how quickly you can kind of spin up an app and see your results and just really enjoy working with the framework. But then on the flip side, you have companies, and often we're talking about larger companies,
Right.
that maybe have already invested a lot of resources into, JavaScript and the whole world that React Native is built on.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's, a little less risky for them to stick with what they know.
Makes total sense.
Oh.
And another developer online, No Breakfast 8259, brought up this really practical distinction.
Okay.
They were saying that Flutter is kind of the way to go for side projects. When you want to kind of
Yes.
bring an app idea to life quickly, you're scratching a creative itch.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to building those marketable skills
Right.
for landing that developer job,
Yeah.
React Native seems to be the more strategic option.
Yeah, it's almost like, are you learning a very popular language versus a very rare dialect?
Yeah.
Both have value, but one is going to open up more doors for you in a specific job market.
I like how you put that now onto something that is crucial for any developer stability.
Mm-hmm.
Because who wants to spend all this time building an app only to have it fall apart?
Right. The holy grail, finding code that will stand the test of time.
Exactly. And that is like a huge concern in the developer community.
Always.
And there's this really interesting anecdote from one developer online.
Okay.
He was talking about how he built this Flutter app, completely forgot about it for 4 years.
Oh, wow.
4 years.
Okay.
And then he went back, revisited it.
Yeah.
It worked perfectly.
Oh,
Talk about stability, right?
that's a really powerful anecdote. I mean, that's what you want, right? Especially if you're a business and you're pouring resources into building an application. You want something that's going to last. You want something that can weather the changes in, the technology landscape.
Sure. But we can't count React Native out just yet.
No.
Because it has its own set of strengths.
Of course.
Especially when it comes to the ecosystem.
Right. And one developer online, Super Random Coder, I believe is the name, they pointed out that React Native is really deeply connected to the massive JavaScript world, the web development scene.
Yeah.
And so that gives it this huge advantage, especially if your app needs to do something like, interact with blockchain technology, for example. The JavaScript libraries for that kind of functionality are way ahead.
So it's all about choosing the best tool for the job.
Exactly. You wouldn't use a hammer to build a website.
Though somebody out there is probably attempting it.
You never know. Yeah.
As we speak.
Yeah.
So we've got Flutter looking really good with its ease of use and its impressive stability.
Mm-hmm.
React Native has that job market dominance and the power of JavaScript behind it.
It's a tough choice.
It is a tough choice. Let's switch gears for a second, talk about aesthetics, because in the app world, looks matter.
They do. A clunky, confusing design can make or break an app.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where things get interesting.
Okay.
Lesson Studio, who's a self-proclaimed Flutter enthusiast, loves that Flutter apps tend to look consistent across different platforms.
Yeah.
Right out of the box.
Saves you time.
Huge time saver.
Yeah.
However, there are other developers out there who say, wait a minute,
Right.
we're really passionate about that native look and feel.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that the app feels like it belongs on either iOS or Android.
Right. It's the classic dilemma, efficiency and consistency versus maybe a little bit more of a tailored experience.
Yeah.
And there's no right or wrong answer there. It really just depends on who your target user is, what kind of resources you have, and what matters most to you as the developer.
I think you make a really good point. So achieving that native look and feel often comes with some trade-offs. It's like choosing between a bespoke, tailored suit or like a high-quality, ready-to-wear outfit. They both can be great. It just depends what you're going for.
Right, exactly.
Speaking of design choices, though, there was this whole debate that caught my eye about code formatting.
Uh-oh.
You know how your code is visually structured?
Yeah.
Apparently Dart, the language behind Flutter, is pretty strict about it.
That's true.
It's almost like it has its own dress code.
Right. Some developers really like that about Dart and about Flutter.
Yeah.
They like that it's very strict.
Like having a universal language for how the code looks.
It can definitely make it a lot cleaner and easier to read.
No more tabs versus spaces debates.
Yeah, exactly.
But then there's the other camp
right.
who see code formatting as a form of personal expression.
Yeah, they want to leave their mark on the code.
Make it their own.
Exactly. And, their argument is that, sometimes that flexibility can actually improve readability depending on the context.
So it's like having a beautifully organized desk versus a more creatively arranged workspace.
That's a great way to put it.
It all comes down to personal preference and maybe even a little bit of coding philosophy sprinkled in.
A little bit, yeah, for sure.
But let's step back for a second. Because we've been kind of digging into the nitty-gritty of these two frameworks.
Yeah.
What does all this actually mean for you, the listener, who's trying to choose between these two?
Right. At the end of the day, how do you make this decision?
Exactly. And speaking of making this decision, remember that popularity paradox we talked about?
Yeah, the fact that Flutter tends to win out in those developer satisfaction surveys, but seems to be lagging behind in the job market.
Exactly. And one developer online, Matawavish, started this really insightful thread about it.
Okay.
Questioning, why this is.
Yeah, why is there this discrepancy?
And there were some really interesting responses.
Like what?
Well, Hammered, who we mentioned earlier, argues that a lot of larger companies still kind of see Flutter as this new and somewhat risky technology.
Oh, interesting.
They've already bought into that JavaScript ecosystem, so switching to Flutter and Dart is like a bigger leap for them.
I see. So they're kind of hedging their bets a little bit.
Yeah, nobody ever got fired for playing it safe, as they say.
That's true.
But then you have developers like Any Woodpecker 123, who say that while React Native might dominate the current job scene, Flutter could open up what they call greenfield opportunities.
Oh, I like that.
So more chances to really shape the future of app development.
Be a pioneer.
Be a pioneer, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, for every exciting new opportunity in the tech world, there's always a cautionary tale.
Right. There's always another side to the coin.
And equivalent Damage 570 shared one about React Native.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they had to update this old React Native app, and it sounded like a developer's worst nightmare.
Oh, no, really?
Lots of manual code tweaking compatibility issues, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, yeah, that's rough.
They even said they would rather build an app from scratch using native code than to go through that again.
Wow, that's saying something.
Yeah, and speaking of potential baggage,
a
GKO brought up an interesting concern about Google.
Okay.
Yeah, the company behind Flutter.
Right.
They're a bit wary of Google's history of sometimes, shall we say, discontinuing products and services.
Right. I mean, that's always a risk with these technologies that are backed by big corporations.
For sure.
But, to Google's credit, they have invested a lot in open source projects, and they do seem pretty committed to building this thriving community around Flutter.
Oh, a little bit of a gamble.
There's always a little bit of a gamble in tech, isn't there?
That's part of what makes it exciting.
Yeah. Exactly. You got to risk it for the biscuit.
And speaking of exciting and sometimes overwhelming, we can't forget about the ecosystem, which we touched on a little bit earlier.
Right.
This is where React Native's maturity really shines.
Okay.
Remember those JavaScript libraries we were talking about?
Yeah, all those pre-built tools and components.
That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, wow.
Imagine having access to this huge library of pre-built components, tools, code snippets that can save you countless hours of work.
It's like a developer's dream come true.
It really is. It's like walking into a well-stocked workshop.
Exactly. And for React Native, that workshop is the JavaScript ecosystem.
And it's not even just about the quantity. It's like, it's the community.
The community behind it. Yeah, JavaScript has this huge active community, which means tons of support, shared knowledge, collaborative projects.
It's like having this global network of mentors and collaborators at your fingertips, which can be such a game changer, especially when you're just starting out.
Especially then, for sure.
Or you're facing this really tough coding challenge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, that doesn't mean that Flutter is lagging behind,
No, not necessarily.
While React Native's ecosystem is definitely more mature.
Yeah, it's had a bit of a head start.
Flutter's catching up.
It is. It's kind of like that new neighborhood that's starting to attract all the cool cafes and bookstores.
I like that.
Where everyone wants to be a part of the energy.
That's a great analogy.
As more and more developers embrace Flutter, it's just going to continue to grow.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see how these two frameworks are really kind of shaping the world of mobile development.
Absolutely.
Each with their own strengths and their own quirks.
Yeah, definitely no clearer winner.
But after diving deep into this whole debate,
yeah,
after going through all these opinions and insights, what's the final verdict?
Right. What are we leaving our listeners with?
What should they take away from all this?
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing that I hope you take away from this, it's that the best framework for you is going to be the one that you're most excited to learn.
Yeah.
The one that sparks your curiosity, that makes you want to sit down at your computer and code.
It's all about finding that thing that really kind of lights your fire.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, both of these frameworks can help you build amazing things. So, whether you're drawn to Flutter's elegance and speed or React Native's, kind of robust ecosystem and that connection to the job market.
A huge community.
Yeah, the most important step is to just dive in, start building, and see where it takes you.
That's what it's all about, just getting your hands dirty and experimenting.
Exactly.
Because the world of mobile development is huge.
It's massive, and it's changing all the time.
Constantly evolving.
So the more that you can learn and play around with these different technologies, the better prepared you're going to be to adapt and grow with the industry.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
There you have it.
Flutter versus React Native, a deep dive into the heart of the mobile development debate. We hope this exploration has given you the insights and inspiration to choose your path and start building the app of your dreams.